Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a topic that can be tricky for anyone learning a new language: money. Talking about money can feel a bit awkward even in your native language, right? So let's break down how to discuss finances confidently and naturally in English. We'll cover everything from everyday shopping to talking about your salary. By the end of this video, you'll be able to handle money conversations like a pro. Ready? Let's get started. First up, the absolute basics: everyday transactions. When you're at a coffee shop or a store, you'll hear questions like, "How would you like to pay?" You can respond with, "By card, please," or "I'll pay with cash." If you're using a card, you might be asked, "Is that credit or debit?" Or they might just say, "Please insert your card." Or you can tap your card here. When you get your receipt, you might hear, "Here's your change." Simple, right? But knowing these phrases makes everything smoother. Now, let's talk about prices. We often don't just say the number. For example, if something costs $19.99, an English speaker would almost always say $19.99. We rarely say $19.99. It's just quicker. So, $5.50 becomes $5.50, and $25.25 is $25.25. What about larger amounts? If a car costs $25,000, you might hear someone say $25,000 or more informally. 25 grand. A grand is a very common slang term for $1,000. Let's move on to dining out. This is a big one. When you're ready to pay at a restaurant, you can say, "Could we have the bill, please?" or "Check, please." Both are perfectly fine. When the bill arrives, you might need to split it with friends. You could ask, "Should we split it?" or "Do you want to go halves?" If you want to pay for everyone, you can say, "It's on me," or "I've got this." It's a very generous gesture. And don't forget about the tip or gratuity. In many English-speaking countries, especially the US, it's customary to leave a tip for good service, usually around 15 to 20% of the bill. You can ask your friend, "How much should we leave for a tip?" Okay, let's get a bit more personal and talk about income and salary. This can be a sensitive topic, so it's all about context. With close friends, you might be more open, but in a professional setting, it's often considered private. If someone asks you a direct question you're not comfortable with, like "How much do you make?" you can politely deflect it. You could say something like, "I'm doing okay, thanks," or "I'm comfortable with what I earn." However, during a job interview, you will have to talk about salary. The recruiter might ask, "What are your salary expectations?" Instead of giving one exact number, it's often better to provide a range. For example, you could say, "Based on my experience and the market rate for this role, I'm looking for a salary in the range of $50,000 to $60,000 per year." This shows you've done your research and gives you room to negotiate. You can also talk about your annual salary or yearly income if you're paid by the hour. You'd talk about your hourly wage. For instance, my current hourly wage is $20. Now, let's learn some useful idioms and expressions related to money. These will make you sound much more like a native speaker if you're spending a lot of money. You might say you're splashing out or splurging. For example, I really splurged on a new laptop this weekend. On the other hand, if you're trying to save money, you're cutting back or tightening your belt. Someone who is very careful with money is frugal or thrifty. Here's another great one. To make ends meet. This means earning just enough money to pay for the things you need. You might hear someone say, with rising prices, it's getting harder to make ends meet. If something is very expensive, you can say it costs an arm and a leg. For instance, that designer handbag costs an arm and a leg. And if you have money saved for emergencies, that's your nest egg. Everyone should have a little nest egg for a rainy day. A rainy day is a time when you might unexpectedly need money. Let's talk about banking. When you go to a bank, you might need to deposit money into your account or withdraw money from it. You can do this at the counter with a teller or at an ATM, which stands for Automated Teller Machine. You'll have a checking account for daily use and a savings account for, well, saving. When you check your balance online, you'll see credits, which are money going in, and debits, which are money going out. If you spend more money than you have in your account, you overdraw your account, and you might have to pay an overdraft fee, definitely something to avoid. What about borrowing money? If you borrow from a bank, you're taking out a loan. For a house, it's called a mortgage. When you take out a loan, you'll have to pay interest, which is the extra money you pay to the bank for lending you the money. You'll make monthly payments or installments to pay back the loan. If you borrow money from a friend, it's more informal. You could say, could I borrow $20 until Friday? I'll pay you back then. Bucks is a very common slang term for dollars. Let's do a quick role play to put it all together. Imagine you're buying a used car. So, to recap, we've covered the basics of daily transactions. How to say prices, dining out etiquette. Talking about salary in a professional and personal context, and some fantastic idioms that will make your English shine. We also touched on banking and negotiation terms. The key is to listen to how native speakers talk about these things and practice using the phrases yourself. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn. Start with small situations like buying a coffee and build your confidence from there. I hope you found this guide to talking about money in English helpful. It's a huge part of daily life, and mastering it will make you feel so much more integrated and confident. What other topics would you like me to cover? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more practical English lessons. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next video. Thanks so much for watching today. See you in the next one. Bye.